So, guys, as always, you are in for quite the treat. Sometimes you get a pitch in your email, and it's just like, okay, that sounds amazing, and this is no different. We're here to talk about Sonic Godzilla with the writer Nick Marino, and he's such an interesting person, right? Like, if you guys could have been here for the last 15 minutes of pre-show, right? Like, you'd be like, whoa, like I don't know what we're talking about, but I want to talk about it more, right? So typically, Nick, what I'll do on these, since it's your first time here on the show,
Yeah.
we kind of run through your sort of career thus far, and then we'll talk about the thing we're here to promote. But tonight, I want to flip that. I want us to just kind of
Mm,
start right at the thing. Like let's talk about Sonic Cross Godzilla,
yeah.
if you will, right?
Let's
Like
do it. BJ, thank you for having me on here. I'm stoked to be here. And yeah, let's just dive right into it. Like, when you got that email, what was the first thing you thought? Did you already know what was happening?
I did not know it was happening at all. And Greg gets really excited. Greg is Greg
Yeah.
Katzman of IDW.
Yeah.
I believe he's like the PR guy. I don't know. I could find his
Publicity
title in my
manager, I
email.
want to say, I believe. Oh, you know what Greg is to me? Greg is a very kind, very collaborative individual. And I have not always experienced that in my career or in any job I've done, but especially in writing comic books. And so I appreciate Greg for setting this up, and I appreciate Greg for being the person he is.
Yeah, for sure. No, Greg is among the best. I could tell personal stories all day, but I think the thing that's cool about Greg, right? A lot of times what'll happen is you find yourself on someone's PR list, and then it's just like an endless stream
Mm.
of press release emails. Nothing's personalized, and it's just like bogging down the inbox. Greg only reaches out when he has something that like he knows you will enjoy as
Hmm.
the reviewer, the publicity or the YouTuber, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And I appreciate that about him. So every time I see Greg's name, I'm like, oh wait, what's Greg got? And when it says Sonic X Godzilla, I'm like, you know what?
Hmm.
So last year they did the Sonic and DC mashup. And when I saw the character designs, I was like, this is the cash grabbiest of cash grabs, right? And then I read the book and I was like, oh, this is fun. This is just like straight up fun. So when I saw Sonic Godzilla, I was like, okay, I'm now my ears are perked up because
Yeah.
Sonic worked so well with the DC characters. And, kaiju aren't necessarily my thing, but my wife is a huge Godzilla fan. In fact,
Mm.
so much so that I've seen most of this Monarch show that's been coming out on Apple because she's
Oh, yeah.
always tuned in, right?
That's a quality show
It's a very good show. And it
with involvement from comic book people
yeah,
like Matt Fraction and stuff like that.
right.
It's another comic book writer, I believe, who was involved. I forget who it was.
Huh. I'll have to look into it now. But
Yeah.
it helps that like everything Apple is like 9K like streaming
Yeah.
quality. I'm like, I don't like why how does my TV look this good?
I don't understand it either. Also, I just feel like the projects they select, like, Apple's got those deep pockets. They're just throwing money at something. They're like, well, give us something that's cool when you're done. Like, I feel like
Right.
that's how they operate.
Right.
And so far, it seems to be working. Don't get me wrong. It's easy to miss a lot of the stuff that comes up there because I don't think that marketing is necessarily what they're focused on there.
Right.
But it is quality stuff.
It is. It is. So I'm excited about it. But also watched, was it Godzilla minus one?
Yes,
Where it's like
correct.
set in Japan.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
one that was really good. So
Oh, beautiful.
it's pretty much the extent of my Godzilla experience is those two pieces of media. And then
Well, I'll tell you what, I was
uh,
kind of similar to you, as in, it was my ex who really got me into Godzilla. It
mm,
was around, but when I was younger, growing up in the 80s and 90s, the places where I lived, there was not a whole lot of access to Godzilla. So I knew of Godzilla,
mhm,
but I didn't really understand that Godzilla was like how do you say this? I know it sounds a little silly, but like I didn't really understand that Godzilla was a movie star, for lack of a better word,
yeah,
until they made the American one in '98, which hit at a time when I was trying to decide my path. Am I going to be an animator? Am I going to be in comics? I was an artist primarily in my youth, so I was focused more on the cartooning side. And I really enjoyed that cartoon. But I do have to say the thing that was etched into my memory, and the internet's done a great job of making sure I never forget it. Godzilla versus Charles Barkley. That hit for me at the perfect time. That was really when my basketball fandom was, getting when I was entrenched in it
Hmm.
as a youth. And and you know what? It probably hasn't hurt that I never lapsed.
Yeah.
And so I was always just waiting to go full circle and be reunited with Godzilla at some point.
That the marketing for that Godzilla film, the '98 one, that was everywhere. I was like
It was
7,
crazy. Yeah.
but like, and of course I was never going to be allowed to see it because it's like, no, it's a monster movie and you're 7. But
Yeah.
it was like Coke commercials, like
Yeah.
that was back when like,
That was the time, man. It was like, you remember how it was with episode 1, where it was like you couldn't like walk down a supermarket aisle without seeing C3PO or R2D2 on like every product. It
yo,
was just
you would go to
because it was before the
Kmart,
internet, really.
right? You would go to
Oh, hey,
Kmart
I
or
love
wherever you
Kmart.
went. First of all, they got the little
I went
rocking
to Kmart.
horse, right? Yeah, we did too. So you had the little rocking horse outside. But that was
Yeah.
back when like Kmart had the vending machines, and so you had the
Hmm.
Fruitopia machine, and then
Correct.
all of a sudden
Correct.
all the Pepsi machines had these massive Star Wars like posters
Yep.
on them,
Yep.
and it's like
Yep.
I saw somebody was selling an Anakin Skywalker vending machine a couple months ago, and I'm like, what? How do you just have that?
They waited too. Like
Right?
they held on to that. I doubt it was something they always could have found it in the back of a warehouse, but somebody was holding on to that, thinking, one day I'm gonna sell this. That was really that time, that was when like nowadays you go to the comic shop, let's say you want to sell your collection, you bring in your like 10 copies of Spawn number 1 third printing, and they're like, I'm sorry to let you down, buddy, but we don't need this, right? But back in the 90s, you really believed if it was a fandom thing, it had a future of being valuable.
Yeah. And then for a lot of the stuff, at least the stuff that kind of cut through the mainstream, it was like these corporations were telling you what to like, right?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
so it was everywhere. This is back when they had street teams, and so it was like if something was going to get pushed, it was
Mhm.
billboards, vending machines,
Yeah.
posters. Somebody showed up at your school with a stack of promo materials, like here,
Oh,
take this. Like it was
yeah.
crazy the money people were spending to
Oh, it
push
was wild.
products back then.
My uncle used to do anti-smoking assemblies for like elementary and middle schools. And I don't know the chicken or egg in this circumstance, but it was centered around a giveaway of special Marvel comics with Spider-Man, Luke Cage, and Storm.
Okay.
And they fight a guy who's like a smoke-themed villain, right? And now you're thinking this is great. We're telling kids to stop smoking. Meanwhile, Marvel's thinking, oh, baby, we just bought ourselves the greatest free advertising of all time.
Yeah.
These companies were obsessed with figuring out ways. Now it's different because we all got a freaking pocket tricorder that delivers us advertising 24/7. But back then, these companies were really going out of their way to advertise to you in very creative methods.
Yeah. One of my heroes is Dwayne McDuffie, and
Hmm.
he says the book that he
Rightly so.
wrote with the largest print run was it was later collected in a book called Amazing Spider-Man Fights Substance Abuse. Very much the same thing you're talking about, but it
Wait,
like
did
got
he
distributed.
write the one where it was like versus Mysterio or something like that?
Yes.
Mid 90s, maybe?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh, God. I had so many copies. I had so many issues with that thing in the middle of them. And as an adolescent, I was still trying to understand. Like, I was like, wait, is this part of the story? Because it was like 5, 6 pages an issue where it
Yeah.
just jumped into this comic. It was very confusing.
Yo, when I started reading comics in like 2019, after
Yeah.
like kind of having some every now and then as a kid, but there used to be this Snickers commercial that they would put in the middle of all the DC comics, and that one
Mm.
fooled me a few times. Like,
I love that one. That one was so cool. I think that was an intentional attempt to recapture that feeling of disorientation that you had when you hit a hostess ad
yeah,
in like a 70s and 80s comic. Because so many of the guys, I think that, like Jim Lee, I believe, did the artwork for that, if I'm not mistaken. He would have been reading the comics at the time when you'd get to one of those random pages of a full comic book ad done
hmm
in a style of comic book. And it was confusing, but once you figured it out, it taught you artist styles, it taught you storytelling techniques,
Yeah.
or how to parse them as a reader, you know? So there's actually even a value to us, I think, as consumers of it beyond the advertising. It actually educated us in a weird way. You're still thinking about that Snickers ad, not because it was Snickers, but because of the experience it gave you to read the story with that in there.
Right.
And that suddenly makes you analytical of what you're reading. And I've noticed something that's largely gone missing, almost completely. We rarely encounter a mid-story ad from most of the mid-tier to large publishers nowadays. Maybe in a big two, we get it now and then. I think when you're reading Sonic Godzilla, I don't think you're going to see a single mid-story ad whatsoever. I would be shocked if you did.
Yeah, I think it is IDW that puts most of their ads like just in the back of the book.
Yeah.
You read the story, then it's like, oh, here's a bunch of stuff.
You know, we have a manga literate readership that's aging up and increasingly having more purchasing power and really becoming the new default for our format. And I think that something like that could be a real turnoff to them. As much as I enjoy the nostalgia of ads spliced in between that make you feel like you're time traveling when you read an old comic,
Yeah.
I understand why, from a publisher's perspective, maybe it's lost its effectiveness to put those ads in the middle of the story.
Probably, right? The chances are like the person, because I mean, comics are pretty much only sold in the direct market. So the person who is receiving this ad already knows to buy the thing, right? Like they had to pre-order this book 3 months in advance.
Yeah.
So, but there is something like, so this is the Marvel Legend Has It. Nas's label, Mass Appeal, did a collab. And so
I didn't know about this.
Oh, this is amazing. So they launched it at New York Comic Con last year.
Yeah.
And basically all last year, Nas or Mass Appeal was releasing these albums by these sort of, I guess you would call them legacy acts. Big L, De La Soul, DJ Premier, and Nas, Ghostface, Mobb Deep.
Wait, can we back up to that Premier and Nas one? Is this like a collabo one they did?
Yes.
Like the whole thing?
They finally did
I gotta go listen to that.
One MC, one producer album. It's Nas and
That's
DJ
great.
Premier. It's dope.
I gotta go back and check that out. Thank you for telling me about this. I appreciate this very much.
Listen, no problem at all. But Raekwon dropped an album, and so did Slick Rick.
Damn.
Yeah. All on Mass Appeal, part of the Legend Has It year. And so to promote all these projects, they did this custom comic with Marvel, where everybody I just named is a superhero or like a superpowered character in the Marvel universe. And it's like, well, kind of in the Marvel multiverse. It's really interesting. But when I was reading this, what it reminded me of was like, I don't know if you were like a hip hop kid, but like if you were reading like The Source or XXL magazines, and it was like
I would flip through.
Yeah, and so it was like you would get like Echo ads and stuff like that, and a lot of that stuff was like comic inspired.
Oh, I used to have my girlfriend from 2001 got me the sickest Echo Spider-Man button down that I wore well after we stopped even keeping up with each other. That shirt outlasted the relationship by a mile. It was great. Yeah, I miss those Echo Marvel collabs.
Yeah, man, I had an Echo shirt and I wore that. I played that shirt out. It was orange, but it had a cassette tape, and like the spool was all unraveled, and it like formed the Rhino logo. Love that shirt.
They did some really good work. I enjoyed that brand for a long time. I think that they've kind of ended up like, I think they're one of those like Ross and Marshall brands now, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is such a weird trajectory. Probably bought up by some weird hedge fund conglomerate thing. And then it's like, strange how that stuff goes.
It's wild. Like that South Pole. Sean John
my
definitely had
fair
a
share of South Pole.
Yeah.
Sean John well.
Fat Farm had the same. That's bad too.
Okay, you know what I used to really love? Because I don't know what they're involved. You never know with these guys when it comes to the Wu-Tang, what their involvement is in anything. They like to keep it mysterious.
Yeah,
I loved Wu Wear because their clothes were like softer. And as I've come to learn more about myself as I get older, I realize I probably should have, talked to somebody about some of my very specific tastes in these things because it would have told me a lot more about the way I think and how I process the world, right?
Mhm.
But I was like, I can't wear these jeans where I'm constantly thinking I'm wearing a pair of jeans. Wu Wear never had that issue. It was like they were like the softest jeans I ever had in my life, and I wore those things until they unraveled, essentially.
Wow. That is a never-ending tiny mug. How, like, is there a refilling apparatus? Like,
It's constantly getting refilled by my. This is a thing that that my friends have. We've ended up coining it. We call it double Buckiesing because I've got these two Bucky's thermoses. One that I got when I was in Austin, and then one that I own a small comic shop out here in Cali.
okay.
And if anybody wants to find us, we're in an art market called Crafted here in San Pedro. And one of the youngsters, young artists that I, kind of look out for and do my best to pass along wisdom to, named Max. He got me another one when he went to go visit his family. So now I've been double Buckiesing for a little bit. So yeah, this little mug stays little, but the tea keeps going.
That's amazing. My wife and I went to Bucky's for the first time this past weekend. We were in Tennessee.
What did you think?
I thought it was huge.
Yes.
It was, I don't know. Maybe I didn't get the right thing because we literally we went out for breakfast and then on the way, just kind of sightseeing in the mountains, we're like, oh, there's a Bucky's, let's stop. But it's like the attraction for Bucky's is the food. So it's like, okay,
true.
I'm not hungry, but I have to try this brisket taco.
Well, that's what I would have recommended to you because that's what I got, and I was impressed. But
I
gotta say, Tennessee, Texas, two different food cultures, and really the concept of this kind of taco, I can't tell you, comes from the way they do it in Texas, specifically Central Texas breakfast tacos. So, give me the review on this brisket taco. What did you think?
It was cool. It was just straight up brisket. If I had known, I probably would have like grabbed like a side of the sauce or something to just throw on it.
Oh, you got to put a little something. Yeah. Well, that was when I went to that Buc-ee's a few years ago. That was the first time I'd ever seen a Cholula packet. I didn't know that existed, but Buc-ee's had them, and I was like, "That's classy."
Word. Yeah.
But yeah, you need a little something on it. Breakfast tacos in Texas is. I had a partner from Texas. We were together for a decade, so I got my fair share of learning this food culture there in San Antonio. It was very interesting to me because I'm used to thinking of a taco as, you got a base, but then maybe you got a second base. Maybe, you're getting these toppings in there. You're doing all this stuff. A breakfast taco in Central Texas, that's what they call it. It's whatever you've ordered, the item you picked and a flour tortilla, right?
Yeah.
Now, in Texas, I thought that brisket taco was dynamite. I was surprised how much flavor it had. I don't know what they're doing in the Tennessee version now.
Word. It was smoky. I can give you that. It was smoky. And I was just kind of like, I ate it and I was like, okay, yeah, this is brisket.
Yep.
And that was kind of it.
I get it. Is, what? I would imagine the one where I went, it was outside of Austin. They probably got somebody who is coming from a culture of Buc-ee's, let's say, because I feel like Tennessee is a newer place for a Buc-ee's. I believe it only expanded into like Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, I want to say, not too long ago. So I don't know. They got to find their own version of that. Maybe in Tennessee, you're getting they got a lot of good food in Tennessee, but it's very different. Yeah. It's like a meat and three kind of food culture, and it's very good. But
yeah, they're expanding into North Carolina at some point next year.
Oh, is that you guys?
That's where I live. Mm-hmm. So
got you.
The location they're opening is going to be like 40 minutes from my house. So I'll probably make the trip.
Go again. If they start doing like a Carolina barbecue one, that could be really nice to try. Maybe
that'd be dope.
You never know.
That'd be dope.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this. What's your comic shop where you're at?
I go to Fight or Flight Comics. They are inside of a mall. Triangle Town Center Mall.
Rare mall shop.
Yeah. So they were in a strip mall before. I think this will be the second free comic book day they've been in this new location.
Okay.
But now they're the first floor, not far from the food court in the mall. It's a vibe. It's cool. A lot more foot traffic, a lot easier to find parking.
Good. But that's right. Mall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the Insta. It looks great. Oh, Is that? Oh, that's my friend Steph doing a signing there.
Stephanie
That's
Williams?
great. Yes,
Yes.
that's
So
wonderful.
that's the homie.
What a
So
cool
yeah.
little shop, man. Oh, ooh, they get some fancy books in there.
Yeah. So
Dang,
oh snap. Did I unplug my camera? What happened?
you did. But I like it's colorful though. Oh man, first John Stewart. Oh, because of the Lanterns show. Yeah, this looks like a great shop. Yeah, mall shops are very interesting. Like I've had a very complex relationship with them. I feel like sometimes a mall shop will really. Oh, here you are
That is
on their Insta.
yes. I'm not the owner at all. But
No, but this is from like a year and a half ago. Looks like you were doing a promo for their Black Friday
yep.
sale that they were doing.
Yep.
That's
So
cool. I love that. So this is a shop you're close with then
yeah.
if you're on their Instagram.
Absolutely. Those are some of my closest friends. They sponsor the
That's great.
channel. This episode of Comics Are Dope is brought to you by Fight or Flight Comics, as always. Come visit us inside the Triangle Town Center Mall. You walk in through the food court, make a left at the Cinnabon. You can't miss it. There's a big Ben Grimm in the window. So
Ooh, I like that.
check us
This
out.
is great. You know what? I didn't even know that this was not, I swear this wasn't paid, placed, well, just paid, but this wasn't, I had no idea. When I talk to somebody, I love to know what shop they go to. I love to know what shop makes them feel like home for their comics.
Yeah. Now
I think that's very special.
Sponsorship or no sponsorship, right? I've been shopping there. This year will be, or this weekend is like 7 years since I walked into a shop for the first time, and it was their shop.
Wow. That's amazing.
And so it's been like an every Wednesday thing pretty much ever since.
So free comic book day got you in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what it should be. That was the whole point of this. I feel like unfortunately this year, I guess we're still calling it that, but it's what comics giveaway day. And it is also still free comic book day.
It is.
Depending.
It is. I posted it.
Yeah. And it's like,
today.
I'm not really sure. I think it's all about the branding because Diamond owned the trademark maybe or something like that. I don't know. It's confusing. But, I would like to see the studios put their films back on that weekend. Their comic book adaptations. I thought that was really special. I mean, for the first about 20 years of it, I don't know if we missed I think every single weekend had a comic book film on it.
I think you're right.
I believe it was was it the first Spider-Man?
Mm-hmm.
I think was the first one.
Was.
I believe.
It was.
That was, that was really special. But it's interesting if you follow that trajectory, that's very much what we've seen with the way conventions are behaving now. A lot of the studios have left the conventions. And, I'll give you an example. Out here, we had WonderCon last month here in SoCal. And I didn't see a single publisher with a booth at WonderCon.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of sad. I used to go there specifically in the late 10s, no, it wasn't late 10s, it was mid 10s. I used to go there to pitch my books to the publishers. Now, if you're listening to this, that's not necessarily the etiquette. I wouldn't go there to pitch them. I would go there to make friends with the people at the publisher and see if you're a good fit. And if those friendships click, then you can open up that conversation. But with that said, I went there to do research. So my first published work was a book called, are we swearing on here or not?
You're good, man.
Okay. My first published book was a book called Holy Fuck, creator-owned book I did. And this time 12 years ago, I printed up some zines from my home printer, and I took them to WonderCon, and I made one for Oni. I made one for Dark Horse. I made one, I believe, for, I want to say like Lion Forge or something like that. I don't even know if that's what they were called back then. They might have had a different name at that time. I don't know. But anyway, point is, I even put their logo on almost like, where like the barcode or the Spider-Man would be on an old issue. I believe I put it kind of right in that area. I put their logos there. And it was like, this is our pitch for you, And it didn't work. And it was published by none of them. But that said, it's an interesting change. It's an interesting shift we've seen where you don't go to a convention necessarily to interact with publishers. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just feels very different.
Yeah. I will say, my home convention is Heroes in Charlotte. And
special convention.
Right. And, I've met editors there. I've met all sorts of creators. It feels
Mhm.
like the sort of the last Comic Con standing. I've heard
I
Baltimore
think
is
in
very
some
similar.
ways it's yes, I've heard Baltimore is similar. I heard that too. I've never had an opportunity to go to either. Baltimore, I just didn't make it to when I was on the East Coast, and now on the West Coast, it's I haven't had the opportunity presented to me to make it out to Heroes yet, but I look forward to that when it does present itself. But those are really creator forward shows with a
Yeah.
focus on comic books almost exclusively.
Hmm.
The rest of our shows are pop culture fandom conventions, and that's a beautiful thing too. But if your main focus is comic books, like it is for me, I imagine like it is for you,
Yeah.
it feels weird to have that change.
Yeah. Yeah. I went to GalaxyCon. Well, last year I hosted a panel at GalaxyCon, and that was
Yeah.
fun. So we kind of made like
Well, tell me which Galaxy Con because I've come to understand that there's quite a few of them now.
a million of them. I went to a GalaxyCon Raleigh.
Got you.
So, and it was cool. We did a comics 101, like kind of helping people find their first great read.
Oh,
And the whole
I
thing was
love
like,
that.
okay, if you're here because you're a fan of wrestling, maybe these comics. If you're here because you're a
Yeah.
fan of, anime, try these
Right.
out. And so it was a fun engagement. But it is weird to navigate because like when you're on the show floor at GalaxyCon, the comic book writers take up maybe like 2 rows.
Yeah.
And then you got like voice actors. And I walked past Rob Paulson and kind of was like, yo, that's Rob Paulson. Like I didn't see him before I heard his voice. I was like, yo, that is Rob Paulson. Like that was crazy.
Really distinct voice. I can't do it. I can't do it. But he's like,
I can't
yeah.
do it.
You know what? They really messed me up by making him two turtles. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like, whew, why you gotta do that?
Right. But so it's just there was a point they're playing what is that song? Candy Rain on the
Okay.
loudspeakers. And
Oh, we talking like the one that guy sang in front of his microphone, like
um
that they ended up using for like Dr. Pepper ads and stuff.
wait, what do you ever dream of candy coated raindrops? Was
I think
that
so. Let me see.
so
I don't know.
I don't know if that's on the commercial, but anyway, I'm they're playing this song on the loudspeakers.
He went kind of viral. If it's the
Right.
dude I'm thinking of,
Oh, okay.
skinny guy, right?
I I I'm
You don't
not
even
familiar
know.
with this
You're like,
moment you're
"Ah."
talking about, but
Oh no. This is different. This the dude I'm thinking of did like a song that was something rain
oh,
that they
okay.
ended up using for Dr. Pepper commercials. Somebody smarter than me will know it when they watch this.
Word. But yeah, all that to say, the punchline of that story was I look
Yeah.
over and the yellow Power Ranger is just belting this song with all her heart next to me at this
Oh, we're
table.
talking like season 2 Yellow Power Ranger.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like what? Oh yeah, because the a former yellow Power Ranger is no longer with us, but
Yes, she passed sadly.
she did. But yeah, like but the point is there's so much other stuff going on at like these other conventions. But Heroes
Oh
just
yeah.
feels like you like comics, this is where you need to be. It's fun.
Are you going to
Um,
do something for the convention this year? Any panels, anything like that?
I someone pitched a panel that I'm supposed to be featured on. I don't know if that got
Mm,
approved or not. I didn't pitch anything myself this year. Um,
okay.
but yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what appearances I'm making. I'm definitely gonna be at Heroes. I want to go to Baltimore this year. Um, I want
Why
to go up
not?
there.
Give it a shot. I mean, everybody says it's great.
Right. So I think that one's in September. So, and then that'll probably be it for me for conventions until next year. Next
Yeah.
year, I'll probably do GalaxyCon. I'll always do Heroes, but I want to
Yeah.
make it to San Diego at some point. And next
You
year
got to
feels like a
do
good
it, man.
time.
It's like, I haven't been to the conventions in the South, so I can't say for sure
Mm,
what they look like. But San Diego Comic Con is really a special, unique experience. I'll be there this year to support the book. We're coming out the week before our first issue of Sonic Godzilla drops the week before the convention, which is on purpose.
that is that's,
They got their synergy going on,
that's gonna be rough
and
for your hands, man.
you know what? I look forward to it. I feel so fortunate to be in a situation where I get to meet so many kind, enthusiastic people. The joy that this kind of thing brings them is really special to me. And you dream of being able to do something like that as a storyteller, to be able to have a almost a built-in connection from before they read the first page of the book. They're hooked because they care about the characters. And then all you want to do is just do that justice and we'll toss in some surprises in there too.
Speaking of
So yeah,
surprises,
we'll be at the booth. We'll be signing. We'll be chatting. Same kind of conversation we're having. I love to have these talks with people when I get the opportunity to meet them at conventions. So I look forward to that. And yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty special book. I'm so entrenched in the production of this book because it's been going on for about 3.5 years now since I started working on it. By the time I'm at San Diego, it'll be 1 month shy of 4 years from when I started pitching this book. And there was a time when I felt like it was only me that believed in it. That's not a slight to anyone. That's just what it felt like for me in terms of the work I was doing and the checkups I was doing. And as time went on, I like to think that I brought more positivity and enthusiasm that became infectious. And also, it's not that hard of a sell if we're being real with each other. But, I'm excited to see how people feel about it because I think my collaborators, Jack Lawrence, Reggie Graham, Ed Dukeshire, my editors, Bixie and Tia, we have a new editor on there now. I don't know if it's been announced, so I'm going to hold off on saying who it is that's involved at this point. But and folks like Greg and Raina Strauss at IDW have really been supportive of this and collaborative in the way that we've designed things. I'm just excited for everyone to feel the shine of people's enthusiasm for this. And I hope that when people are holding this in their hands that week of San Diego, they got those little stars in their eyes because they're having so much fun looking at it.
Right. Now, I want to know now because you talked about how long you've been pitching this, and you've been doing some different Godzilla projects here and there. You did Godzilla Rivals,
right?
So you've been working on Godzilla. What was it about Sonic that was like we got to put them together?
Well, I'll take you back to this time 5 years ago when I first started pitching stuff to IDW. And I'd had a friend who got hired as an editor, Jasmine Joyner. And they first brought me in to pitch Transformers stuff because that's what they were working on. It was the Beast Wars times. And I eventually, about 6 months into their tenure, got a Beast Wars story, and that was cool. And I'd been pitching like an Optimus Prime graphic novel that didn't end up moving forward, but that was cool, to have that experience. That was really the first licensed thing not the first licensed thing I ever pitched on. I pitched on a Doll Man book. Are you a B-movie aficionado?
Not so much.
Okay, you didn't miss too much with this, but back when I was working with Action Lab, which was who published my first creator-owned book, Holy Fuck, they had a license with what's that company's name? Full Moon Productions. Real direct-to-video, old school B-movie place. Charles Band is the name of the guy who kind of spearheaded that film company. And he had done a movie called Doll Man, which was like, the guy's just really tiny. Like he's a tiny dude. And he has like a crazy adventure, a little profane adventure. So I pitched on that, back in the day. But really the first serious license thing where I felt like anybody was considering it was these Transformers projects that I was working on. And, after I cut my teeth on those, Jazz had found themselves working on Godzilla stuff. We were like, when the opportunity came up, they were like, should I edit Godzilla? And my ex and I, Rosie, who really got me into Godzilla, we were like, yeah, absolutely. Like, you got to work on Godzilla. That's so cool. Like, you can do so much with that. So I watched my ex put together an issue of Godzilla Rivals, which was an unbelievable experience, and really made a brother out of that process in Oliver Ono, who's been drawing Starship Godzilla. And I love Oliver so much, and he's a really terrific person, and I'm so excited to see where his career goes from here. And that was his first, I believe, full comic book, let's say, the one that he did with Rosie Knight, my ex. And it was such a cool story, Godzilla versus Batra. It was awesome. And I felt very inspired after that I started, kind of waiting for my opportunity to do Godzilla. And the right thing came along when a writer couldn't do the issue of Godzilla Rivals that they were slotted in for. And so I kind of knew the artist, who they were going to, I didn't know the artist, but I knew who it was going to be. I knew that they wanted to keep the artist who had been loosely attached to that, Sean Dove. And at this point, the editorial rule was, we've had enough Godzilla and Godzilla Rivals. Can you do different monsters? So I did Biolante versus Destroy It. It was great. I loved the experience. Learned so much from it. It was wonderful. Sean's an incredible artist who wanted to draw cars.
Wow.
Really strange. But something he had in common with Jack Lawrence, who drew Sonic Godzilla, they both really embraced drawn cities.
Mm.
And so my Godzilla story that time around was set in Pittsburgh, where I used to live for a long time. And I used to deliver pizza when I lived there. So I set the story along my old pizza route. And I sent Sean, I made him like an interactive Google map where he could click on all the locations I wanted to spotlight in it, you know, from alleys to, you know, giant world famous buildings. And it was such an amazing experience. And we really got to root the story. You know what they do now where they do that Godzilla versus America series?
Yeah.
I feel like we were like a little bit of a test case for that, you know, because this was really Godzilla versus Pittsburgh, if you will, with the story, and but not Godzilla exactly, you know. But it was the story, the city was a character in the story. Let's say it was very important, and we referenced little Pittsburgh things from the what they call inclines, but the rest of the world calls a funicular, and to like you know the popular diner there. But anyway, where I'm going with that is to say, after I had the opportunity to write that issue and tell my first story in the Godzilla world, I wanted to do more. And I was pitching I had pitched a different project that I found out Jazz had essentially included in their farewell package to Toho to let them know what they'd been cooking up. And they were moving on to a different career. And they sent this thing over to Toho and they were like, hey, do you want to see the presentation? I was like, yeah, I'd love to know how much, you know, the project I've been thinking about looks in there. And they showed me the presentation. At the end, there was a slide and it just said, Sonic X Godzilla, question mark? I was like, what's that? I was like, who's writing that? And they were like, no one. And I was like, could I pitch that? And Jazz was always very generous with trying to give me opportunities to work on things. And they were like, sure. I don't know how much they thought it was really going to work out. But I pitched to them and to the Godzilla editor, or excuse me, the Sonic editor at the time, David Marriott. And it was a rocky phone call. It did not it did not go well in terms of how I wanted it to go. It wasn't bad. They were both very kind and supportive of me. But I had never I was ambitious in what I was trying to do with my first concept of this story. And as much research as I did, I still could have done more. And I certainly have in the ensuing years. But for me, that hook, it was the scale. I love the scale difference and the ability difference too. You know, we don't think of Godzilla does have things that are fast that Godzilla can do, right? But you don't think of Godzilla as necessarily being speedy. You got a little bit of time to run away. It's the matter of, is the scale going to get you? Because as you saw in -1, for example, it's you know, you can run as fast as you want, but if the monster's as big as a skyscraper and they take a step forward, you probably can't outrun that. And I thought they did that beautifully in -1. That was horrifying and really poignant. And when those, when that sort of like the rush, I guess, of force, when that hit, you know, and those two main characters got caught up in that destruction, that really, you could feel it in your chest. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you it feels the same in Sonic Godzilla because we're working in a very different way. But I love the idea of Team Sonic. These are characters that are, maybe about a third the size of a human, quarter the size of a human. That's a Jack Lawrence problem, not a me problem. But with that said, that's about the scale we're looking at visually to these enormous kaiju. And I love the idea that despite how different their perspectives are, we've got to find a story where they can interact, where they can have equal impact on our emotions, on our excitement, and on, you know, the plot progression. That's a challenge as a writer that I looked forward to. That was something I was always enthusiastic about. And then you add in the fact that Team Sonic, in general, can move at blinding speeds, but especially Sonic himself, with what he's capable of. Then all of a sudden, we released a preview page not long ago that Jack did a masterful job on, because I really presented a tricky task here, which was in the background show Sonic doing laps on Godzilla, all around Godzilla's body. And to get any kind of perspective on Godzilla, even if it was just Godzilla's head, Sonic's not going to look very big on that. Right. But Jack figured out a way to make the energy of Sonic's speed course around Godzilla's body in a way that I found incredibly compelling. And those are the kind of fun situations that, from my perspective, I dream of creating in a story like this. How do I play with the capability of a comic book to depict speed, depict size, depict, the wall between realities being compromised? That, to me, is exciting. And that was my hook from the very beginning. And I can't say what the hook was for editorial. I can't say exactly what it was for other people. I do think Jack has said that for him, the scale was quite exciting because he gets to play with perspective in very fun ways. And I'll tell you what, Jack is truly talented. The way he's made the city of Station Square a character in this, and the way that he's found incredibly inventive solutions to letting us experience Godzilla and Sonic in the same panel. That goes the same for Amy and Mothra, Tails and Mechagodzilla, and so on. It's really been unbelievable. And for me, that was something I always wanted to tackle with this. And that sort of carried me through. That motivated me. It wasn't so much that they were popular, it's that they were so contrasted.
That's good. I'm going to pause for a second. All right, cool. My screen sharing is working fairly well.
Look at that. That's beautiful.
Put you in here.
What's funny? I didn't see that cover until they made the announcement. And I was like, somebody had said something to me, like I had gotten some PR thing where they were like, Nick, from what we're seeing on the covers, it looks like Station Square is really going to feature. And I was like, okay, all right. I guess I can talk about the city.
Let me make sure.
And it was fun to be able to reveal that from the beginning. That's such a cool, man. Jack and Reggie are so good.
Yeah, I love just the, like you said, like Jack being able to kind of capture how Sonic's just running all over.
I even forgot that wasn't even the thing I was talking about.
Right.
Because we have an interior page where I saw Jack do it first. And I'm guessing that, after our editors, I would imagine after our editors saw that, they were like, yeah, that's cool. Do that again. Put that on the cover.
I think what I like about this cover composition is like how annoyed Godzilla looks. And
I love it. That's something they got. This is something that Toho is quite adamant about. These are easily irritated characters, easily irritated monsters. There shouldn't be a time, with the exception of Mothra, for the most part, who has a little bit more, has more gears, let's say. Godzilla's going to be angry and perturbed most of the time. A character like King Ghidorah, don't get Ghidorah. I don't like to do this too often, but I'm going to say there were very, very early drafts of this where Ghidorah was featured. And the note I had gotten back at the time was, just make sure Ghidorah's always angry. Don't let there be a moment where Ghidorah's just happy to be in Sonic's world, And that's, if we are fortunate enough to tell more stories set with these two incredibly unique, contrasting sets of characters, hopefully we'll get some Ghidorah in there. But that was like, that to me, when I got that note back, that was one of my earlier rounds of notes. I was like, I got to keep these monsters angry. That's something that they're going to want to see. Like, not just readers, but it's something that Toho expects from us.
Right.
So that was, I love how annoyed he is.
And then we've got this cover for issue 2 already.
I love this one. There's something about you know what? Sonic is like, it's got such a purity to it. Mm-hmm. It's just the colors, like like the blue, red, pink, and I don't know, Tails is yellowy, orangey, like it's just fun to see them together. And
it really is.
Yeah. Jack, the choice to make the city in Mothra's, Reggie's choice to make the city in Mothra's color palette, I just think is such an amazing idea.
Because it makes her such a big looming presence now.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and I'll tell you what, I think sometimes we think of Mothra as being safe, and that is the case depending on circumstances. But Mothra is still a giant monster who is capable of great aggression and great violence. So this is representative of what I think you're going to experience in issue 2.
For sure. So what can you tell us about the story that, obviously, like you said, the first pitch didn't quite go how you wanted it to, but you obviously settled on something and got it to go.
It's still settling. We still have tweaks going on. Not to the main plot, but to characterizations and little nuances. Still getting settled. I just revised, I believe. I did a quick tweak. I think we're basically settled on the third one now, which has been drawn, but you still got to tweak dialogue and stuff like that. And I did an update to the 5th script recently, which was, I don't even remember what it was at this point. Fundamental. I added a scene to the 4th issue not too long ago, an extra knuckle scene, which was really cool. But what I can tell you is this, and we're fortunate. You and I are in a fortunate situation because at this point they've released quite a few teases. I think we've shown 10 pages from the first issue, I believe, already. So people have an idea of what's going on. But it's a normal day for Sonic and Eggman when their rivalry is interrupted by a tear in reality that puts both of them on our asses. And they look up to see 2 terrifyingly bizarre monsters emerging into the air over the water next to Station Square. And everything that happens from there is focused on saving lives. How do we get these monsters to go home? And from Eggman's perspective, how do I make the most of this to get the edge that I've been looking for over not just Sonic, but this entire world? So those were really, I think, the 3 sort of primary plot threads that we have going on in this story. And you're going to see Team Sonic really focused on saving and sending the monsters home. And yeah, I had a few things I really wanted to get in there, a few things I wanted to play with. And a lot of that came from Eggman first. Mm-hmm. He's such a schemer, and it's really satisfying to write that kind of. I think I said in my very first PR I ever did for this, or I don't know, something I did, I don't remember. Eggman's a lot like me. I'm putting these characters through hell. And that's what Eggman wants to do. He wants to put everybody, essentially, except for himself and his allies, which are typically just his creations. He wants to put them in a difficult spot. He wants to have the advantage. And when I took that perspective, once I really fully adopted that, which I sort of didn't always come from that perspective with it for maybe the first year of pitches. Once I really locked into that, I felt like the action sort of neatly folded around that fact. So Sonic, in that way, I guess you could say Team Sonic is more reactive and Eggman is more proactive in this. And that generates a lot of interesting conflict between both of their sides, but also the kaiju, which are kind of like their own third side in this.
Yeah. That's interesting. So we've talked about kind of your exposure to Godzilla and just kind of the behemoth that was 1998 in soda advertising, at least. Right. But Godzilla had Taco Bell meals. Gosh, it's all flooding back to me now. But
I wonder how big that taco was.
It's crazy. But yeah, so
can we bring that back? I bet sounds delicious.
I don't know if anything is going to save Taco Bell at this point. I don't. But I went to my local Taco Bell. This was maybe 6 months ago. And it's like, how it's so empty that like everything is made to order. And so it takes you like 15 minutes to get simple stuff. It's like, all right, man, just make this a Wendy's or something. Like,
I do think to a degree this is cultural because I feel that out here in California, our Taco Bells are just nonstop busy, you know, and it's like they are essentially they are one of our most affordable Mexican food options. And I'm not saying it's authentic per se,
Right.
but just about everybody I know out here has their order at Taco Bell. And
Yeah.
I feel like the one here in my town, we actually have two on the same street in St. Pedro. But the one here that's a little bit closer to me on the corner of 11th and Gaffey, shout out if anybody knows the one I'm talking about, because it's infamous. I'm not gonna get into it now, but if you actually look up that Taco Bell, there was quite a scandalous thing that happened a few Christmases ago that made it into national news. Um, it's pretty damn good. I, I feel like I'm lucky,
Yeah.
you know. But then I don't know. I don't know what it is. There's something about it out here. It's thriving, but obviously it's not doing that everywhere.
It's true. I mean, when I was in college, there was a Taco Bell not far from my campus that was always bumping, and it was good.
Mhm.
It was great,
Mhm.
you know.
The
But
ones that do more business, I don't think it's just that they're more experienced. I do think that there's probably a higher rotation of ingredients,
mhm,
more frequent, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. I think that that makes a difference with this. And people who are more used to making things. And I've noticed, for example, when I was doing a road trip uh, cross country, can't remember where I stopped at the Taco Bell, somewhere in the plains, like Nebraska or something like that.
mhm.
And they had a totally different tortilla game out there. These
Huh.
things were like super soft, fluffy, really chewy, really doughy.
Mhm.
And I was like, our tortillas are never like that. And I wonder if it's a bit like Coca Cola, where they feel like they are tailoring the recipes to the
To the
communities where it's
region.
being served. And maybe your Taco Bell needs to be tailored a little bit more.
Maybe. Send it to a tailor shop. Get a seamstress over there. But ASAP.
get that inseam right.
Right, right. So, but kind of speaking of the '90s and advertising blitzes,
Yeah.
there's not very much that was bigger than Sonic back then,
No.
right?
It
Like,
couldn't have gotten bigger. I mean, yeah, I didn't own a Genesis,
right.
but my family did, my friends did. And there were two things I wanted to play when I went to their house. I wanted to play Street Fighter and I wanted to play Sonic.
Yeah. So I didn't have a Genesis either. Growing up, I lived across the street from my cousin. Like they lived in a cul-de-sac, and I lived in the adjacent street. So
I get it.
we could see each other's houses out of the window. But anyway, I would go over there. They had the Genesis, and what did I have? I ended up getting a Sega Saturn though,
Ooh.
and the Sega Saturn is what debuted Sonic 3D Blast, and that game. I don't know if I ever made it past level 2. That game was ridiculously hard. At least for 6-year-old me, it was. But that was the first and only Sonic game I ever got. After that, it was like, okay, we watched cartoons and Sonic would show up. Of course, the Jaleel White show, and then now the movies. My kids cannot get enough of Sonic from
Dude,
these.
kids love Sonic. Oh, wow. There's something primal about their connection to Sonic. And interestingly, nowadays, didn't have this on my life bingo card. They seem to have a primal connection to kaiju as well, especially the Godzilla monsters.
Huh. My kid.
Something
Well,
I've been seeing in signings and things like that. Like I didn't realize it, I first saw it with my nephew. To be honest with you, it's these explainer videos on YouTube for Godzilla. It goes through decades of history of the characters, and the kids just eat it up from 3 to 13. But Sonic's a different thing. Sonic is like that's a playground staple, I think, for young people right now.
Yeah. I do youth ministry, and one of the kids at my church just came up with a Sonic comic, and I was like, I didn't know you even read comics. He's like, it's Sonic though. I'm like, oh, well,
Yep.
of course.
I did a lot of research. I had the fortunate situation to be doing this in secret for a long time. So anytime I went to a comic shop, I said to them, how do your Sonic books sell here? And they said, well, we always got kids coming in and asking for them, so we got to make sure we have them. And they said, normally that'll be like the collections. And they're like, and we have a very dedicated base of pull list customers. We don't get a lot of Sonic for the wall, but we always have, a dozen Most shops will tell me that. About a dozen people who have it in their pull, and they get every Sonic issue. And I gotta say, shout out to the Sonic fandom. Their dedication is really on another level. I
Yeah.
I have seen so much passion and dedication from them. I find it inspiring, and it excites me. It fuels me to want to make sure we are giving them the best of everything because of that.
Yeah, I got to shout out my homie Casey. Casey, co-owner of Fight or Flight Comics, is also a big Sonic fan. I remember I grabbed
Yeah.
a trade, and she was like, "Oh man, I really love this story arc. This is what's happening right now." And I was like, "That
Yeah.
is wild. I had no idea you were reading Sonic." And I just picked this up because my kids wouldn't stop asking me for it. So,
Yeah.
but it was like, okay, this is dope. Like, so I went and got the the collections. They're on Global Comics.
Right.
They're doing these deluxe hardcovers, which like I really want them. I think they're on like 5 or 6 at this point. But
Yeah.
I'm like, shelf space is at a premium in here. So I'm like, okay, do I want to make this plunge? But it's like they're only like $30 or $40 per hardcover. So it's like you might as well do it. But I just know that's a rabbit hole that once I start, I'm
Oh yeah.
not gonna jump off at all.
It's fantastic because guess what? It's not going anywhere. It's like it's there when the timing is right for you, and it really is something special. I think for young people, this is an entry point for them. We're always talking about, oh, how do we get more young people to read comics? Well, guess what? Eh, uh, Bless their little hearts, but it's not Marvel and DC for the most part, unless you're a very specific kind of kid nowadays. And I see that kid come into my comic shop because that's mostly what we have. You know, my little one that I have is tiny. It's like the size of a closet, but I see them come in, and I see the ones who I'm like, oh, that was me 30 years ago. I know what that looks like. That was me. You know, shit, it's getting to this point 40 years ago now. I see that kid come in, and and that's special. But when I started hanging up, I just printed out some of the covers after our announcement and hung them up on my shop because I'm so excited for everyone to know this is on the way. That's the real accessible thing for young people.
Yeah.
And I just want them to find it. I'm not even worried about how they find it. Library, comic shop. Heck, you know what? For a lot of young people, some of their first exposure to this is going to be somebody sending them a link to read a pirated version. And now that's not my ideal outcome, but if it creates a reader out of them and creates a fan out of them, that's okay. That's an entry point. Whatever is accessible, let's make that their entry point. I'm not saying you got to encourage that per se, but I'm saying don't disparage somebody for that being their entry point, because then they become a part of this really quite unique internet community of
Yeah.
Sonic fans. And like any community, there are some people that maybe go a little too hard, but on the whole, I found them to be kind, maybe a little apprehensive because they feel like they've been hurt before. So I try to communicate in a way that is understanding of that. But in a way, this is the new Sonic and Godzilla for these generations that are coming up now. This is kind of like their Marvel and DC, I think, for a lot of us as millennials.
Yeah, I do think, these Godzilla mashups or and Sonic mashups, like, because Sonic and DC kind of did numbers, like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
unexpectedly. I had no clue. And then the same TMNT Naruto last year or
Oh,
year before.
the excitement that people have for that because we have a very anime and manga literate young audience.
Right.
So we're saying to them, well, we're meeting them where they're at with that kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important. That as older readers, that might not be the thing we gravitate towards first. But I think it's important to do that. And for me, writing this book, I'm taking it very seriously. Now, I'm not going to say when you read this, you see this in it, but I thought to myself when it was time to script these, I was like, I'm just going to rely on the crossovers that have been meaningful to me, and that or let's say grand storytelling that's been meaningful to me. So I went back to Starlin on Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War. I love those crossovers.
Mhm.
I got to see a little bit. If he put somebody the focus on them, they had a moment. Captain America gets moments in there. Silver Surfer gets moments. It's like I want my Sonic readers to feel the same way about their Team Sonic characters that they rep. Here, and And then I looked at Grant Morrison's new X-Men because I remember when I went into the comic shop, I've been reading the arc previous to that, and I really enjoyed it. And Morrison and Quitely's new X-Men was a complete departure.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know, really? And then I got through and I read that first issue and I finished it and I was like, it's better than I thought it was going to be. And then by the time the second issue came out, I mean, hell, I even remember the number. It's new X-Men number 114 was the first issue. Mm-hmm. And by the time 115 came out, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And for me, it was the scale of it. Mm. And I don't know if I captured that feeling. That's not for me to say. And it's certainly not quite as heady as some of that Morrison stuff is. But I wanted you to feel the scale in the same way. So when I'm scripting it, I'm pretending I'm Grant Morrison writing my first new X-Men script. I'm like, I'm gonna make these MFs feel the scale. I'm gonna make them feel how big it is in my head, you know? Mm. And I really do think, you know, I would be honored. I'm not saying this is ever gonna happen. But if somebody came and told me 20, 30 years from now, that was the kind of scale that they saw in Sonic Godzilla that they were trying to emulate when they were writing something, that would be a great compliment to me. I'm trying to take this, I'm bringing the same gravity to this that I hoped my heroes brought to their stories that meant something to me.
Yeah. So, you know what's fun? You know, I'm going to break the sort of TV magic here. We're filming this well in advance of the final order cutoff and the first issue coming out. I think this issue 1 will be out on July 15th. And correct. So your pre-order, if you're going to pre-order this book and guarantee the cover that you want, you need to do that by June 8th. That's final order cutoff.
I wish it was the 7th. We could have had like a cool 6-7 thing going, but I can go 6-8. It's all right.
You know, I'm assuming 6-8 is a Monday. Most shop.
I believe so. Yeah. Let's find out.
Yeah, we can. That isn't easily.
Go ahead. I appreciate you dropping these. Thank you for dropping these dates because that is an important thing. We're so lucky that we have like such a tuned in comic book community that supports their local shops, and it's important to know the FOC at your shop. If you final order cutoff means that's the last date that your shop can put it in order, where it's guaranteed, barring any sort of shipping mishaps, that you are going to get that. But now here's the thing. As a creator, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. As a creator, here's why your FOC is so important to me, especially for your first issue. Because if you get those orders in with your shop by the FOC, then my publisher knows how much to print, right? And if those orders are really juicy, like I would like them to be for this first issue, that's when I get to start talking about a sequel. So if you'd like what you've seen in the preview pages, if you'd like these two worlds together, if you want to see us take it even further, because we can only do so much in 5 issues. If you want another 5, or I don't know, if we're lucky 6, 7, I don't know how many they'll give us, but if you want more, getting those orders in really does tell us this matters to you. Yeah. And I'm saying I'm working hard not to let you down with this one. I'm working hard to make this a good adventure to go on.
Yeah, for sure. So June 8th is a Monday, right? Good. But I'll let you in on a secret, right? Most shops do not like it if you wait until the Monday of final order cutoff to order your books, right?
It's messy. What if you're hitting them up like a half hour before they close? They probably already put those numbers in.
They probably put the numbers in.
Probably on Sunday or Saturday.
Exactly. Plus, you know, the new shipment came out at this point. Now we're stocking shelves.
Correct. You're right. Monday Wednesday is now that day. You know, it used to be. This is crazy that it used to be like this in the Diamond Monopoly days. A lot of shops wouldn't get their books until Wednesday morning if they were lucky. Wednesday afternoon, my local comic shop, Phantom of the Attic, in Pittsburgh.
Yes,
it would be rare back in the zeros if they had their books before Wednesday morning. Nowadays, we're in a totally different situation with Penguin and with Lunar. Those shipments are sent out in a pretty timely manner. So yes, your shop is probably focused on the books that just arrived that Monday. Yeah. So make their lives easy. Tell them a week before. Heck, if you like what you're hearing, go tell them send them a, however you tell them. Do you DM them? Do you email them? Do you text them? Everybody's got a different method with their retailer. Just let them know if this book is important to you. The sooner you do it, the sooner they're going to be able to make sure they got the cover you want. And if you are the kind of collector who likes to get like a incentive or something like that, we have some cool incentive covers on this. Let them know, because you're gonna maximize your odds for getting the thing that you want.
For sure. So if you really want to guarantee it, just go ahead and call your shop by 6-7. All right.
There you go. Thank you. I like that.
No problem. You know, kids have trained me well, but yeah.
You can't wait for 8-9. That's not okay.
Right. Nah, 6-7. That way, you know, even if your shop did put in their orders, they can still go in and edit that.
Yeah, they can.
Low pressure. So that's definitely fun. I'm really excited about this. But yeah, so we're filming this crazy in advance. As we're filming this, IDW just dropped the trailer. I think IGN dropped the trailer.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me. I believe I got an email like a day or two ago that we had one. I was like, cool.
Have you read the comments on this video at all?
Are we on YouTube? You talking about?
So on the Sonic Hedgehog Godzilla trailer. I'm
looking
on here.
I caught the comments at like what was for me probably around like noon.
Got you.
So I have not seen them for what is about 7 hours or so.
So as of right now, the number one comment on here, or the top comment, says, if Mechagodzilla doesn't fuse with Metal Sonic, this will be the biggest fumble in comic history.
I have been getting a lot of, this might even be the same commenter I've been getting that on Twitter and other places. There are certain, because look, the two of them have not just that they have things in common, but there's like some inspirational things about like, anyway, Sonic fans know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. They're connections, let's say, just like Chaos has connections to Biolante and stuff like that. So are you asking me?
I mean, the people want to know.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to find the most diplomatic way to say this. In the myriad of pitches that were sent to my editors and to Sega, there were all manner of characters involved in this. Essentially, Sega came back to us around the time that we were really getting our ducks in a row, and about 2 years ago when we were really getting serious about this. And they were like, look, we want to try and focus on the tightest core of Team Sonic that we can for this. And Sega actually also wanted to have input on which kaiju I was using as well. And in both cases, they wanted me to, I've likened it in past analogies, they wanted this to be a cheese pizza, let's say. If I go to a pizza shop, I want to try the purest version of what they do. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get a cheese pizza. I'm going to see, how do they do it? Now, the next time I go back, I'm going to add a couple of things to it. I'm going to see, how do they handle these toppings? Maybe I'll change the sauce. Maybe I'll maybe I'll get me some stuffed crust or something like that. I don't know. Like, I got all kinds of options open to me. But what we're giving you in this first one, we're giving you the classic, okay? Classic Team Sonic, classic kaiju. Now, with that said, I am hesitant to reveal exactly what that means. I would rather let I want our readers to go on a journey. I want our readers to be a little bit excited if something, where I'm going with this is to say, this particular commenter might find themselves disappointed, but stick with us. I got plans. Heck, I was just working on those plans last night, writing a pitch for what a sequel might look like. It's nothing that's approved. It's all up in the air right now. But when we get those order numbers in on that first issue, and they're as healthy as I expect them to be, then it's go time. And we'll see. Sky's the limit at that point, But I think because I am also new to Sonic, I think to a degree Sega, this is just my interpretation, nobody told me this, I think Sega wanted to make sure that I was trustworthy. They're very careful with their characters. And, you got Emma Stanley and Ian Flynn who've been working on this stuff, writing this stuff for a long time. I'm not them. I have a Godzilla background, and then I've done a few bits and pieces here and there in terms of licensed stuff. But I come from creator-owned indie comics, and they don't know if I'm going to nail all the voices. And I think that because of that, and because our pitching process was quite extensive, I think they saw a few versions first that they weren't quite on board with, and then one of the best compliments I ever received was that I believe, I might get the wording wrong, but when I sent them the version that we're essentially working off of now, they said they thought it was the best rewrite that they'd ever seen, whoever that approvals person was at Sega. And that meant a lot to me because I really was taking their input. But look, I think because of that, they came to the Nick Marino pizzeria and they said, make me your best cheese pizza. And so you're getting a classic in this one.
Nice.
And I look forward to the opportunity to disappoint you in a sequel.
Dope. So, man, Nick, this has been a really fun conversation. I've got one last question to take us out. So you've got a Godzilla background. Who's your favorite kaiju in this world?
My favorite is King Caesar. I love King Caesar from Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, the first one in I believe it's 74. I want to say. King Caesar is like a Muppet. You know, there was a time in my life when I thought I was going to be a puppeteer. I thought that was going to be my calling because I just love Muppets so much. And King Caesar's like, what if you made like a cuddly Muppet scary and able to step on you easily? And so I have not had the opportunity to write Caesar. I've worked on Caesar because I was I collaborated on the colors for Godzilla Monster Island Summer Camp. And Rosie had my ex wrote that one, and she had opportunity to put some extended Godzilla family characters into that book, and I was really happy when King Caesar made the cut in that one, and I got to lay down some base level of colors for Caesar, which was cool. But I haven't been able to write Caesar in anything that's been approved yet, so we'll see what happens. But I love King Caesar. Nice. Such a weird character.
I lied then, because that brings up one more question.
Sure.
How many times did you watch Being Elmo on Netflix?
We have not watched it. I have a complicated relationship with the character because the puppeteer who originated Elmo has a very complex history in it, and it's sad, Yeah. What this guy probably went through that led him to make the choices that he did, Kevin, and then the things that Kevin did, So I don't even recall if I have watched it. But don't get me wrong, I do love me some Muppet documentaries. Yeah. But that one is Kevin in that, right? Am I wrong? Am I right?
That is Kevin. To be fair, that came out before the controversy.
Oh, definitely. Before we knew what was going on. And I do think you tend to find individuals who find themselves in those circumstances are often repeating cycles that they themselves were exposed to. And, that's why breaking a cycle, if you've been a victim of abuse or made some bad decisions, breaking that cycle is very important. Yeah. But it's hard for me to revisit any of that stuff now. So I may have watched it once when it first came out, but I don't recall it.
Yeah, that's fair. I just said I was not the biggest Muppet fan growing up. Like for me, well, no, I like the Muppets. Sesame Street in specific was like not
which
really
are Muppets, just not TM the Muppets.
Right.
Yeah.
But like watching someone just kind of grow up and just being like, all I ever wanted to be in my life was a Muppeteer. It's like I've never heard that phrase, that sentence in my life, but
it was very unique. And I believe Kevin is one of the few people who really was in that situation. I think most of the Muppet performers we have, still the vast majority of Muppet performers date back to like the 70s at this point, right? Our main performers, Bill Beretta. Actually, I don't know when Bill started, but definitely, what's his name? Who I can never say right. Gonzo's Dave Goles. I think that's what he says his name. Dave's from back then, I think Bill's from back then. I can't remember the rest of the heads now because at this point it's like, the guys are getting old, but
right.
Yeah, it was a very unique situation that Kevin found himself in as a young puppeteer.
Yeah. Interesting. Well,
very.
On that note, Sonic the Hedgehog Godzilla comes out July 15th. my grandmother's birthday. It's gonna be a fun one.
You know what? It's my birthday is only 3 days later, and I never celebrate my birthday. But this year, at my little shop, I'm gonna throw a birthday party because I'm so happy about this issue being out, and we're just gonna do a little. I'll have some freebies for people. I'm gonna give the gifts this time, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So shout out to you, Grandma.
Thanks.
July 15th. That's a good birthday. July 15th, right in the middle of the month.
Right.
I like that. It's very good.
It's hot.
It's also like
it's
it's like a satisfying, like, 7's about as close as you're going to get to half of 15. So it's like starting to get a little symmetry in your numbers and stuff. It is hot. Summer birthdays are weird, but
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so July 15th is when this will be out in stores. It's a Wednesday, of course. If you want to pre-order that, go ahead and pre-order it by 6/7. All right.
Correct.
And with that, you guys have been great. Thank you for watching this whole interview. Nick, thank you for being so gracious with your time.
Thank you, BJ. I really appreciate you with your time. I mean, you're a family man. You're doing this. It's tough to fit all these things into a schedule like that.
It's true. We had to wait till the kids went to bed, but it worked out.
Right.
It worked out. So with that, make sure you pre-order this book. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I mean, if you watch this whole interview, It means you are a fan, not necessarily of me, but of comics. So if you think comics are dope, subscribe to the Comics Are Dope podcast on all the platforms that you love to ingest podcasts via. And then stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.